Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Gretchen and today I'm back with another Booker Prize Longlist review, and today's book is going to be Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. Now this, oddly enough, is the only Irish title I believe on this year's Longlist, which is really strange because there were a lot of promising Irish books in contention, and I was really shocked to see that we only had one. Going into this, I was led to believe that this was going to be a crime novel about a kidnapping, and although that is true, I honestly think that the crime was just a plot device so that we could learn more about the characters and the people that were brought together by the overall crime. And I hate to say this, but as far as plot goes, it's pretty basic and generic. We have a small-time drug dealer that owes this huge debt, and then we have these two kind of thug-type characters that are in charge of securing the money and making sure that he pays his debt, and they end up hatching this plan to kidnap the drug dealer's brother, who goes by the name of Doll. And once Doll is kidnapped, they take him to this house, and it's in a very rural area, and it's owned by this man named Dev. And Dev is kind of shocked that these two people actually followed through with the plan of the kidnapping, and Dev is a quiet type. He was bullied in high school and he kind of keeps to himself. He lives alone. His father's not in the picture. His mother has passed away, and Dev just seems like the type of person that doesn't really want to invite a whole lot of drama into his life, but he goes along with it. And then we have another primary character who is Doll's girlfriend, and her name is Nikki, and she becomes involved in the story because once she realizes that Doll has been kidnapped, she then gets wrapped up in helping to get Doll back safely. And that is pretty much all I want to divulge about plot, because I don't want to, give too many spoilers away. But I will say, if you're picking this up and expecting this kind of fast-paced, action-packed crime novel, you're probably going to want to lower your expectations, because although we do come out on the other side of the crime, we see everything play out, and there is some action, all of it to me kind of felt anticlimactic because, as I mentioned earlier, the focus is more so on the characters and their response to everything that was going on. And as a matter of fact, the characters that we focus on weren't actually Doll, the one that got kidnapped, or the thugs, the kidnappers. It was actually Dev and Nikki. They were truly the heart of this book. The two people that were unexpectedly pulled into the orbit of this crime, and we get pretty deep insight into their lives and what motivates them, and we learn about their past and what has led them to this point that they are in their lives. And both of those characters, Dev and Nikki, had pretty sad and tragic lives that they had to overcome. They both, at their core, are pretty lonely and isolated people, and they end up in this mess, to me it seems, because it beats being alone and having nothing going on exciting in their lives. So they would rather have this going on than be alone, which is really sad. And they're both willing to get caught up in this because they seem to be trying to fill some type of void in their life. And I think both of these characters, especially Nikki, are pretty self-aware. I think personally that Nikki knows more about who she is and what her end game, or what she wants her end game to be, whereas Dev, I think is slowly learning those things about himself. Nikki is a lonely person that's surrounded by people, but Dev is a lonely person that is physically alone. And I liked the way that Barrett really showed that inequality that loneliness can be. We use lonely as a blanket term, but there are different levels of loneliness and there are different ways to be lonely. And just because you have relationships and lots of friends and people in your life doesn't mean that you're immune to being lonely. Lonely is not just for those people that are isolated and don't have people around them. And I'm not sure if that was Barrett's intention, but that was definitely something that I took away from reading this book. I also thought there was a lot of hope in this novel as well. And as I'm getting deeper into the long list, I'm realizing that that is a recurring theme in a lot of the books that ended up on this list. And that overall idea that if you're strong and persistent and come out on the other side of your current drama or situation, you can be presented with a new opportunity to make changes for the better in your life. And I think that that was one of my biggest takeaways from this book. And another thing is it was really funny. There were a lot of great one-liners in the dialogue that I appreciated. And there's just something to be said for Irish humor. I'm a big fan, and there were very many times in this book where I kind of chuckled to myself out loud because of the absurdity of what was being said or the vernacular of the way that the dialogue was being presented, and I just really enjoyed that part of the book. If I had a criticism of this book, I would just simply say that Colin Barrett is a short story writer, and to me, that really came across in his writing style, and it kind of jumped off of the page for me. It had the succinctness of a short story as far as language, but he gave more meat to the plot and characters than a short story would usually have the bandwidth to provide. And there were several times throughout this book where I just felt like I was in this weird place of wanting the story to either be less than what was being given or more than what was actually being given. I just wasn't completely satisfied hovering in the middle. At the end of the day, I did end up enjoying this book, but I'm really curious to maybe go back and read some of his short story collections, because I think I could actually get along with his writing better in the short story form than in the novel form, but we'll see what happens with that. And I'm a little uncertain at this point as to whether or not this is going to make my short list. I still do have a few books left to read, and I'm also in the process this week of filming a lot of the review videos that I have been meaning to get to, so there's still a lot more Booker content yet to come, and until we read again, bye!